Someone you all know already. But I hope when this is over this evening, you'll know a few little things about Mel that you might not know right now. Mel comes from Newfoundland, and he's an incredible person, and we kind of know that Newfoundland mystique about being so friendly and helpful to everybody and Mel carries that sometimes to the extreme. Like last week when he hurt his thumb, just so we could all have a safety lesson on cleaning up our shops and being safe around tools when we're working. Anyways, Mel was born in Newfoundland. And Mel, just tell me a little bit about your education in Newfoundland and like what you were going to do before you came to Saskatchewan.
Well, I was born in 1940. We didn't become part of you people, or we didn't take you people on. Until 1949. I finished high school in 1958. And there wasn't much work around, and it seemed that everyone decided going to be school teachers. So the government of Newfoundland had a project for getting young people into the teaching profession. They had a teacher. You just went after you finished high school. You spent all of July and August at a teacher college for 2 months. And then after you came out of there, you were allowed to teach for 1 year only. And then you would have to go to university after that. Most of us that we were going to, you weren't going to be close to home. My job was supposed to go, a lot of people now that you know Newfoundland was up on the northern peninsula. I would have had to leave. My hometown is in a place called Glovertown, which is 40 miles east of Gander. And if you're driving through Newfoundland, when you come through the Terranova National Park, the first little town you see is where I was born. At the time, the only way you traveled in Newfoundland was either on a train or by boat. I would have had to take a boat to Twillingate, or take a train to Twillingate, and take what used to call the Ocean Ranger, which was a public ferry that took people to all the small up to Labrador. And I would have got up there and would have had to stay there till the following June. There's no coming out once you got in there. And I was pretty fortunate because my sister had married a young fellow he was in Gander at the Air Force Base. And they had moved out west, and at that time, Safeway was just expanding, and there was sort of a connection there with my brother-in-law and someone that worked at Safeway. They said, Safeway is opening stores in Saskatoon. They're going to open up 2 or 3 stores within the next. This is 1959. It says, come out, you get a full-time job. The pay is going to be 98 cents an hour, but I was going to go and work as a teacher for $103 a month. So I was going to double my wages just by coming out here. And that's how I ended up in Saskatchewan in 1959.
So you moved here, you moved first to Prince Albert.
Prince Albert.
Just kind of, you moved around a little bit in Saskatchewan.
Yes. I started in Prince Albert, and I came here because we were open in 1960. We opened the Avalon Safeway in the Avalon Shopping Center, and we opened a store there, and we opened a store in in Yorkton and Moose Jaw and a couple in Regina. So Safeway was really expanding. They were in building new stores, and that's how it started.
So, just popping back to Newfoundland for a minute, for your woodworking experience, you weren't involved in woodworking when you were in Newfoundland, but you have a heritage of woodworking.
Yeah,
That
on
is-
both sides.
Yeah.
My grandfather on my mother's side was a shipbuilder. So the Blue Nose, the schooners, he built, he had died very young. He only built, I think it was 7, but if you went on the website now, the Erie Keith is still, you can still see pictures of the Erie Keith around. And most of it, they were schooners that were built for the Labrador fisher. So they would leave the island and go fishing up north and come back. And most of all them schooners, the Erie Keith, ended up after down in the Caribbean as little cruise boats around. But there always was like Blue Nose 1. There was always a deal when the fishery ended on the Grand Banks. The first racing, that what's called the racing now is, that's where that started. Was all the schooners that left the Grand Banks and raced to their home ports, and that was the idea where that racing came from. And the Erie Keith did race from there, but it didn't race the Blue Nose because the Blue Nose was going to Nova Scotia, and the Erie Keith was going to St. John's.
So, Mel, you're working for Safeway, and he's been a member of this club for a long time, and we kind of look to Mel as a elder statesperson in our club kind of thing. You know, you can go and ask him questions about everything, and he knows just about everything. But you didn't start woodworking until you retired, right?
That's right. 1995, I retired, and about 96, I became a group at Walter Murray Collegiate with the Kiwanis. And a gentleman by the name of Butch Williams used to come there, and he was the guy that convinced me that I should come out to because we met on Thursdays and they were bringing out the chairs that I should come to a meeting.
And then you joined the Wood Guild, right?
Yeah.
And what happened at the first or second meeting of the Wood Guild?
The first or second meeting at the Wood Show, there was an old guy that came in. He said, you know, I had fun on the lathe this afternoon, and I turned this little bowl. And the name of the guy was Al Baca. It was in 2000. And I won that at the door prize in 2000, Baca. and it's never had any stereo in it.
So when did you turn your first bowl, and how did that come to be?
First bowl I turned it at Ray Auckland's shop. Guys here, Leo and Al, these guys would know. He was a member of the Woodworkers Guild, and I had bought an old lathe, and I asked Ray to show me how to make a bowl. So I went over to Ray's bowl, and we put this little piece of maple on a faceplate. And Mel got a little aggressive down in here before I could see some points of some screws on here.
Did you hear a ticking noise?
So Ray had he made some nice little walnut pieces. He had a plugger, and we just plugged them. And I turned that in January of 2002. And that's when I got my first lathe. $200. I got a Rockwell Beaver and a one-way truck and some tools.
Okay, and the next bowl you got is the first bowl that you turned off of that, I think.
Yes.
Or an early one.
I never had any wood to turn bowls that way. And when we were at Walter Murray, there was all kinds of stuff when we were making stuff with. And this was some cherry. I just laminated it together, right? I cut it, rim in it, and turned that bowl. And it's been sitting around the house, and there's always something in it, some nuts or something, so that it's been well used. So that was the very first piece then. Huh? I wouldn't say I had good form to it, but, and the only way I could cut the foot off was use was a parting tool. So there was.
And then you took a class from somebody else here in our club, from Trent.
Yes,
I think that's the one there, isn't it?
No, this one here. In 2002.
Yeah.
And the reason I know I took it from Trent, because he helped me with the bottom. And if you notice that, that's a Trent's bottom on there. So that was the first item I ever turned in Trent shop. 2002.
And then you went all out for Christmas.
All out for
And you
Christmas.
bought a blank.
Yes, I went and bought a blank at Windsor Plywood. A nice piece of spalted or maple. It says, "Merry Christmas, Sharon. Love, Mel. 12/20/02." I gave it to her. So I was pretty proud of this because I still had the big foot on it though.
And then another class from Trent.
Yes, the very first natural hedge bowl, 2003, at Trent shop. And send the foot still not bad, a little help on it, you know. I took a lot of classes. I took a lot of classes, I think, from Trent, and we've been a friend ever since. Anyway, it's been gorgeous. And then we started.
Yeah, go ahead.
With the there was a fellow in our Larry Matishu, which is the Larry Matishu. It started off as we worked at Trent. We went to Larry's shop. We used to Larry hired Trent for the weekend, and there was Glenn started there, and myself, and Duncan, and what was the number? Anyway, we go there Friday night and turn till Sunday, and we probably had 3 or 4 different projects that Trent would line up, and Trent used to always do would do a demo what he was going to do. And this was the demo that he did in 2004. And I think, Trent, at that time there, you had opened that and this piece was put on because give us a little more room to see how we hollowed it out and then put that piece on. So that's a little special piece from there. And then the hollow turning, Trent's hollow turning. Remember that, Trent?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Duncan, did you take this same time? Yeah. And Gordon Bowman, I think, was there as well, right? And Trent's idea was that when you were turning with this hole, that you could see how your tool when you were turning and how close you got. I don't know if you still teach that class.
Yep.
He does, I just took it a year and a half ago.
Okay. And then you did.
Oh, the deal was captive rings. I did this late. I did this in 06. I did this captive ring. And it still sits up on the shelf there. It's far enough away that you really can't, guys can't get in and inspect it.
And then this is.
Yeah, this is where I went to see Mr. Richard Raffin in Calgary. And Richard Raffin still teaches that same bowl today.
That was 2000.
2008. 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had 2 items he turned. He turned a a bowl, and we turn a little scoop. That was his class.
And just before this bowl, in 2007, you got rid of that great Rockwell lathe that you had.
Yes.
What did you buy?
I bought myself a nice 1640 one way from Mike Alcala. Certainly went over to Trent's, you know, and this was the first, this one here, that Natural Edge was the first time I got a chance to use the big one, because I was working on his jet.
Okay. I've got a thing here that says 2009, the Christmas party at Mike's, and he suggested that you and somebody else.
Yes, myself and Rod, that we should have a symposium. This is '09 and Christmas of '09. That 2010 that we should have a symposium.
We didn't start as early as we do now.
And we thought, and Mike said, you know, we bring, like Mike was head of Emma Collaboration at that time. And all these people were coming in. So we lined it up. And Mike had worked at Kelsey, so he had connections at Kelsey. You know, it didn't cost us anything for Kelsey. I mean, everything was free because Mike knew so many people down there, and Mike knew so many people in the city. And they had run sort of a little attorney, not really a symposium, but some attorney workshops at Kelsey before that. So 2010, myself and Rod and Mike and Elio was there. He brought down his Rose engine at that time. Al Bakke was there with his big lathe. He did coring, right, Al? And we had a lot of people there. We had Stubbs was there, and his wife was there, and that's Stell's wife took all the from Glenn's people for all the marbling. That's where they got their start, was in the marbling, was at 2010.
Okay, now I want to just ask you a few quick snappers. Like, how many spin tops have you made?
No, probably
Like you
a couple
to
of
be
thousand.
accurate.
A couple of thousand, maybe.
Okay. Your favorite tool?
It's a roughing gouge, surprising.
Yeah.
When I started turning pins, I turned all my pins with a roughing gouge. I got 3 roughing gouges, and I have different little bits on them that I use, and you know, it's funny, but that's.
Your favorite woodturner, not a local woodturner, but international, like a guy other than Mike. Who is your favorite woodturner?
In 2011, I went down to Arizona, and I met Mike Mahoney. And Mike's an actual turner's turner. He's not a artist. He's not everything he makes. He said all his plates and everything in his house, they hate out of his wooden plates. Like he was really a bowl turner, things that for making things, and he was really a great turner. And he worked at Craft Supplies for a while too, I think, at one time. I was really impressed with him.
What's your favorite wood?
Oh, probably maple, Manitoba maple.
Yeah.
Because probably it's more available for us here, you know. It's sort of a safe time.
And how did you become mayor of Bedford Road?
I don't know, but when I first, now I'm the oldest one there, but I guess I made a point of knowing everyone on the block, and that was it. And it was, it's not very hard to get up and say good morning to everyone. Certainly, and I was a Safeway store manager for you know, for 37 years, I worked for the store manager for over 30 years, and I spent 99% of my time was on the floor. And I had to work on Sundays to do my mail and stuff like that. But I always had a friend for years at Cumberland and 8th. I was there for 13 years. And I used to, Ray the Titian used to come in on Sunday mornings, and we used to have the greatest conversations.
Yeah. Okay, we have one bowl left, and like this, I asked you, what's your favorite bowl that you've turned, and you have this bowl here. Tell us about this last bowl.
This last bowl was on display in Mesa, Arizona in 2011. I don't know where I got this piece of birch burl from. I think I got it from, maybe from, I'm not sure. But I was making it, and I was making it, I did these 3 little, and we were doing
which we're gonna be doing in January, or Trent's gonna be demoing in January, and later on, we're gonna be having
it took me a long time
to
I did the rim and then cut out all these little, there's a lot of hand sanding on it. But I still think it's a nice bowl.
Where was it on display in Arizona?
At the 20
Desert
Woodturners, Arizona, the
Desert.
Wood, there it is right there. That was the year.
They quit.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah,
That
we
was
were
the
there.
actually, that was the last.
That was the
year.
first one. No, this is the green one. Was the first year. This is
Oh,
11.
okay.
We were there in
14?
14.
And that was the last one I
And ladies and gentlemen, that's Mel Genge.